Hi everyone. In today's assembly we're going to think a little bit more about the Lord's Prayer. And I've been wondering what's made this prayer so special that it's still very popular for people today. And I've managed to find 3 stories how this prayer has helped these individuals face some very challenging moments in their life. The first story I found was by this gentleman here, John Mahony, who says this. On 11th of September 2001, John Mahony, a retired US Army Lieutenant Colonel, was working on the 19th floor of a huge building in New York called the World Trade Center, when suddenly the building jerked hard, throwing everyone off balance. At first, he thought it was an earthquake, though his army training had told him it was probably something else that had caused the problem. There was a huge fire and an explosion. John and those working near him needed to get out of the building as quickly as possible, so they headed down a smoke-filled staircase, surrounded by frightened people, and wondering if he was ever going to survive. John just kept saying the words of the Lord's Prayer over and over again. John was used to saying the Lord's Prayer every day, and saying it on this particular day seemed to provide him with some stability. John later said, "In that smoky, wet stairway, in a burning building surrounded by 1,000 scared people, I felt wonder. I felt God's peace, and I knew that regardless of the physical outcome, everything would be all right." For John, reciting the Lord's Prayer on the most difficult day of his life helped him and gave him a great sense of God's peace. Another story comes from soldiers in the First World War. Research for the 1000th anniversary of the First World War revealed that many soldiers in their diaries and letters home said they valued the words of the Lord's Prayer, the Bible, and many scriptural prayers. They could provide some morale-boosting words before going over the top in battle. They could be a source of comfort when a friend had died. Many of the soldiers who fought in the First World War knew the Lord's Prayer off by heart and would recite it when life on the battlefield became frightening, difficult, or disturbing. A bit like John Mahony saying the Lord's Prayer during the most difficult times of their lives, this helped them, it seemed, to bring them comfort. Rob Parsons, a well-known Christian author who's written several books about family life, says he describes going to visit his mother, who was in her late 90s and lived in a nursing home. She had been a very active lady, but at that time she couldn't remember many things and was often a little bit confused. There was one thing she could always remember though. Listen to these words from one of Rob's books. "And then I will tuck the bedclothes in around her and straighten the top sheet, bend to kiss her and say, 'Shall we say prayers?' And then a strange thing will happen. This woman, who can scarcely string 3 words together, will take my hand and in a strong voice say the perfect words of the prayer that she'd said each night as she'd put me to bed. 'Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.' This very old lady, who was having trouble remembering many things, could still remember the Lord's Prayer, and she had repeated it so many times before her memory had started to fail, and this seemed to also bring her a lot of comfort." Now I wonder which one of those stories you liked best. Each one tells of people for whom the Lord's Prayer was very, very familiar, something they'd learned when they were children. And this familiarity enabled them to say it in a variety of circumstances, to bring them peace, comfort, and security. It may be that one day the same prayer could bring comfort or peace to all of us. Maybe one day you will say the prayer you've learned in school when you need to find peace, comfort, or security. Now I'd like you to put your hands together and close your eyes, and we're just going to reflect and listen to the words of the Lord's Prayer. Join in if you can, or just listen and think about what the words mean to you. "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen."